Have you ever felt like your prayers were hitting the ceiling, like everyone else was moving forward while your life was stuck at a red light? You've knocked on doors that never opened, worked hard only to see little fruit, and wondered, God, why are you delaying me? One of the hardest things to accept in life is waiting. We live in a world of instant gratification where we expect results at the push of a button and answers at the speed of a click. When doors don't open right away, when prayers seem unanswered, when opportunities slip through our hands, it's easy to feel forgotten, overlooked, or even rejected by God. But here is the truth you must hold on to: a delay is not a denial. Just because the answer hasn't come yet doesn't mean it isn't coming. Just because the door is closed now doesn't mean it will never open. What looks like a setback is often divine protection, because God sees what you cannot see, and He knows what you do not know. Think of the times in your life when you wanted something so badly but it didn't happen. Maybe you wanted a job that slipped away, a relationship that ended, or an opportunity that fell through at the last moment. At the time it felt like loss, but looking back, how many of those losses were actually blessings in disguise? How many times did God close a door because He knew it would have led to pain, compromise, or limitation? He doesn't withhold to punish you, He withholds to prepare you. That delay was God saying, I have something better. When a door closes, our natural response is disappointment. We feel like we've failed or missed our chance. But what if the closed door is God's way of saving us from settling for less? Imagine walking through a door too soon only to discover it leads to a hallway of frustration and dead ends. God, in His mercy, blocks it so that you don't waste years pursuing something that was never meant for you. The delay is a detour, not the end of the road. And that detour is always leading to a greater destination than you could have planned for yourself. Take Joseph in the Scriptures as an example. He dreamed of greatness at a young age. Yet instead of walking straight into his destiny, he experienced delay after delay, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, wrongly accused, thrown into prison. To the natural eye, it looked like denial. It looked like God had forgotten him. But every delay was actually a setup. The pit kept him safe from his brothers. The prison connected him to Pharaoh's cupbearer. And in one moment, God took Joseph from the prison to the palace. None of it was wasted. Every delay was protection, positioning, and preparation for the greater blessing of leading a nation. Your story is no different. The job you didn't get may be because God is protecting you from a toxic environment. The relationship that didn't work out may be because He's saving your heart for someone who will honor you. The opportunity that closed may be because He wants to position you for something that will stretch your gifts and impact more people than you ever imagined. What you see as rejection, heaven sees as redirection. The challenge is trusting Him in the middle of the delay. When nothing makes sense and the waiting feels endless, faith becomes your anchor. Faith says, I don't understand why the door closed, but I trust that God is working for my good. Faith believes that what God withholds is always smaller than what He intends to give. Faith rests in the promise that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. A delay is not the end of your dream. It is the refining of it. It is the season where God strips away what is not needed, strengthens what must endure, and prepares you to carry the weight of the blessing that is coming. Because the truth is, premature blessings can crush you. God doesn't want to give you something great before you're ready to sustain it. The waiting season is the training ground that ensures you can handle the greater doors when they open. So the next time you face a closed door, shift your perspective. Don't see it as rejection, see it as protection. Don't call it a denial, call it preparation. Believe that the God who closes one door is the same God who will open another, bigger one in His perfect timing. And when He does, you will look back and realize that the delay was not wasted, the waiting was not pointless, and the no was simply making room for a far greater was. Waiting seasons are some of the hardest times in life, yet they carry some of the greatest value. Nobody likes to wait. We would rather step into the promise now, walk through the open door immediately, and see the breakthrough as soon as possible. But if you look closely at the pattern of God's dealings with His people, you'll see a consistent theme before the blessing comes. There is always a season of waiting, and that waiting is never wasted. It is always working for your good. Waiting refines you, strengthens you, and prepares you for what's ahead. Delays often feel like punishment. but they are actually classrooms where God teaches the lessons you'll need to sustain the blessing. Without preparation, blessings can be overwhelming. A promotion without maturity can lead to pride. Influence without integrity can lead to downfall. Success without stability can collapse under pressure. That's why God slows us down. He allows seasons of waiting to build the depth of character that can hold the weight of the destiny He has prepared for us. In the waiting, you learn patience. Patience isn't just the ability to sit quietly until something happens. It's the ability to trust God's timing when everything in you wants to rush ahead. Patience is forged when you realize you can't control the outcome and you must rely completely on Him. In that surrender, your character deepens. You become more humble, more dependent, and more aware that what you're waiting for is not earned by your effort but granted by His grace. Faith is also strengthened in the delay. Anyone can believe when the answer comes quickly, but it takes another level of faith to keep believing when days turn into months and months into years. Faith is like a muscle. It only grows when it's stretched. Every unanswered prayer is an opportunity to trust that God is still moving, even when you can't see it. Every season of silence is an invitation to anchor your soul in His promises, not in your feelings. It's in the waiting that you discover whether your faith is fragile or unshakable. Vision, too, becomes sharper in the waiting. Sometimes when God delays you, it is because your dream is too small. You may have asked for something good, but He is preparing you for something greater. Waiting seasons force you to reflect, to refine your goals, and to align your desires with His will. In that process, your vision becomes clearer. You begin to see not only what you want, but why you want it and how it can be used to impact others. Without that sharpening, blessings can easily become self-centered. But in the waiting, God shifts your vision from me to mission. Think of David. He was anointed as king while still a shepherd boy, yet he did not step into the throne immediately. Instead, he spent years tending sheep, facing lions and bears, and learning to rely on God. Those hidden years prepared him to face Goliath with courage and to lead a nation with wisdom. The waiting refined his character, strengthened his faith, and sharpened his vision until he was ready to carry the crown. Without the waiting, the anointing may have come too soon. Your story may be similar. The delay you're facing is not wasted time, it is preparation time. It may feel like nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is happening. God is shaping your heart, breaking off what doesn't belong and instilling qualities that will be essential for your future. He's teaching you endurance, deepening your faith, and giving you a vision that stretches beyond yourself. When the door finally opens, you won't just walk through it. You'll run prepared and equipped for the blessing on the other side, so don't despise the waiting. Don't see it as a wasted chapter. Embrace it as the season where God is preparing you for the greater that is coming. When you finally step into what you've been waiting for, you'll understand why it took so long. The delay will make sense. The preparation will reveal its purpose. And you will thank God not just for the blessing, but for the strength, faith, and vision you gained while you were waiting. One of the greatest challenges in life is trusting God when nothing seems to be happening. We pray, we hope, we knock on doors, yet from the outside it looks like silence. We look at our circumstances and think God must have forgotten us or turned His face away. But the truth is, God often does His most important work behind the scenes. Just because you don't see visible evidence doesn't mean He's inactive. In fact, it's in the hidden places where He is most at work, arranging people, orchestrating timing, and aligning opportunities in your favor. Think about a stage play. When the curtain is down and the lights are dim, the audience sees nothing. But backstage, the crew is busy, moving props, adjusting sets, preparing actors for the next scene. The audience may think nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is happening. The same is true with God. When the curtain of your life looks still, heaven is moving pieces into place. He is preparing the next act, one you couldn't have scripted on your own. Sometimes the greatest blessings take time because they require multiple people and circumstances to align. You may be praying for a job, but God is not only preparing you for the role, He is also preparing the right boss, the right team, and the right environment where your gifts will flourish. You may be praying for a relationship, but God is working on you and that person simultaneously so that when you finally meet, the timing is perfect. You may be praying for breakthrough in your family, but God is softening hearts, arranging conversations, and opening doors you can't even see. Scripture is filled with examples of God working behind the scenes. Esther is a powerful one. A young Jewish woman living in a foreign land, she had no idea that being chosen as queen was part of God's hidden plan to save her people from destruction. She might have thought her story was random, but behind the curtain, God was aligning people and timing so that when Haman's plot was exposed, Esther would be in the exact position needed to deliver her nation. What looked like coincidence was divine orchestration. Joseph's story also reveals this truth. Betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Joseph might have assumed God had abandoned him, but every twist of his journey was part of God's hidden design. The pit kept him safe. Potiphar's house trained him in leadership. The prison connected him to Pharaoh's servant, and eventually the palace placed him second in command. At the time, none of it made sense. But when Joseph looked back, he could boldly say, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." The whole time, heaven was arranging the puzzle pieces. The same is happening in your life. The delay does not mean God is absent. It means God is busy. While you're asking, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" God is answering, "Because I am preparing it to be bigger than you asked for." He is arranging meetings you haven't had yet, setting up opportunities you haven't discovered, and moving hearts in places you don't even know exist. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. That's why trust is essential. You may not understand the process, but you can rest in the promise. God has never been careless with your life. He knows the desires of your heart, and He is faithful to bring them to pass in His timing. If you only judge by what you see, you'll grow weary and discouraged. But if you believe that heaven is at work behind the curtain, you'll find peace in the waiting. So the next time you feel stuck or forgotten, remember this: silence is not absence, and delay is not denial. God is the master planner, weaving every detail together for your good. While you see stillness, He sees strategy. While you feel nothing, He is moving everything. And when the curtain finally rises, you'll realize the hidden work was worth the wait, because the story He was writing is far greater than anything you could have written for yourself. One of the most beautiful truths about God is that He never simply gives enough. He gives more than enough. When He finally answers after a long season of waiting, His blessing is not small, not ordinary, and not limited to just you. It comes pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Delays are not meant to shrink your dream, but to expand it so that when the answer arrives, it carries a weight far beyond what you ever imagined. The blessing after the delay is always bigger than the blessing you thought you missed. We often pray in terms of need. Lord, help me pay this bill. Help me find this one opportunity. Help me survive this season. But God thinks in terms of abundance. I want to set you up for overflow. I want to expand your influence. I want to bless you in a way that touches others. That's why sometimes He waits. If He gave you the answer too quickly, it might only cover the need of the moment. By delaying, He multiplies the impact so that when the breakthrough comes, it doesn't just meet your need, it ripples out to bless everyone connected to you. Look at the story of Hannah. She longed for a child and spent years waiting, praying, and weeping in her delay. To others, it looked like God was silent. But when the blessing finally came, it was bigger than she could have expected. Her son Samuel wasn't just any child. He became one of the greatest prophets in Israel, the man who would anoint kings and lead a nation back to God. Hannah asked for a child to ease her pain, but God gave her a child who would shape history. The blessing exceeded the request. The same is true with the feeding of the 5,000. The people came hungry and the disciples panicked because they didn't have enough food. All they had was a small boy's lunch of 5 loaves and 2 fish. But when Jesus blessed it, it multiplied. Not only was everyone fed, but there were 12 baskets of leftovers. The need was hunger, but the blessing was abundance. That miracle revealed the heart of God. He doesn't just answer to meet needs. He answers to show His greatness and to bless beyond expectation. When your delay ends, expect overflow. If you're praying for provision, don't be surprised when God not only pays the bill, but also provides opportunities that elevate your income. If you're praying for healing, don't be surprised when God not only restores your health, but also gives you strength and energy you haven't felt in years. If you're praying for a breakthrough in your family, don't be surprised when God not only resolves the conflict, but also draws hearts closer than ever before. His blessing is always bigger than your prayer list. And here's the most powerful part: the blessing isn't just for you. God's intention has always been that you would be blessed to be a blessing. The bigger blessing is designed to flow through you into the lives of others. That promotion is not just so you can enjoy a higher salary, it's so you can open doors for others and support kingdom work. That healing is not just so you can feel better, it's so you can testify to others that God still heals. That answered prayer is not just so you can smile again, it's so others can see your story and believe that God can do it for them too. The delay increases the size of the blessing because God is thinking generationally. He wants the impact of what He gives you to outlive you, to spread wider than your circle, and to inspire faith in others long after your moment has passed. That's why you can never despise the waiting. The longer the wait, the bigger the harvest. The harder the battle, the greater the reward. So don't settle for a small answer when God is preparing a big one. Don't lower your expectation because of the delay. Raise it. Expect not just enough, but more than enough. Expect a blessing that surprises you, overwhelms you, and overflows from you to others. When the delay is finally over, you'll discover that God wasn't withholding from you, He was multiplying for you. The blessing will not only meet your need, it will exceed your expectation and bless everyone connected to your life. Faith is easy to talk about when everything is going smoothly. It's easy to declare, I trust God, when doors are opening, prayers are being answered quickly, and blessings are flowing without interruption. But true faith is not proven on the mountaintop, it is proven in the valley. It is not proven in the seasons of abundance, but in the seasons of waiting, when delay stretches your patience and tests your trust. Delay is the furnace of faith, the place where shallow belief is burned away and unshakable trust is forged. When God allows you to wait, He is not being cruel. He is building in you a faith that cannot be shaken by circumstances, opinions, or feelings. Weak faith gives up when the answer doesn't come quickly. Weak faith questions God's goodness when the road gets long. Weak faith wavers with every setback. But tested faith becomes proven faith, the kind of faith that declares, even if I don't see it yet, I still believe. Even if it takes longer than I hoped, I still trust Him. Even if everything around me says otherwise, I know God is faithful. Think of Abraham, called the father of faith. God promised him descendants as numerous as the stars, yet he and Sarah grew old without a child. Year after year passed, and still no son. To the human eye, it looked impossible, yet Abraham held on. Romans 4 says that against all hope, Abraham in hope believed. The delay tested him, but it also proved him. His faith was not in the timing of the promise, but in the God who made the promise. And at the appointed time, Isaac was born. The furnace of waiting refined Abraham's faith until it became unshakable. Job's story is another example. He lost everything, family, health, possessions, yet in the middle of unimaginable suffering, he declared, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. That is faith proven. Not faith in comfort, not faith in blessings, but faith in the unchanging character of God. And in the end, God restored Job's life with double what he lost. The waiting season didn't destroy his faith, it proved it. Your waiting season is doing the same for you. Every unanswered prayer, every delay, every not yet from heaven is testing your faith. The enemy will whisper that God has forgotten you, that the promise was a lie, that it's foolish to keep believing. But when you refuse to quit, when you stand firm despite the silence, your faith is being forged into something strong, steady, and immovable. Tested faith becomes the kind of faith that can withstand storms, fight giants, and move mountains. The truth is, faith cannot grow without testing. It's like gold, it only becomes pure when it goes through fire. Every delay you face is the fire that burns away doubt, fear, and pride, leaving behind the pure, proven trust that God is after. This is why James wrote, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Without the furnace of delay, faith stays shallow. With it, faith matures and becomes powerful. When your faith has been tested and proven, you stop needing constant reassurance. You no longer need to see immediate evidence to believe. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence that says, I know my Redeemer lives. I know He will make a way. I know His timing is perfect. That kind of faith intimidates the enemy, inspires others, and pleases God deeply. So if you find yourself in the furnace of delay, don't despair. It is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It is a sign that God is strengthening you. He is burning away weak faith so that you can walk in proven faith, and proven faith is unstoppable. It is the kind of faith that sees miracles, commands breakthroughs, and leaves a legacy for generations. Delay is not just about waiting for what you want. It is about becoming who God needs you to be. When the waiting is over, you won't just receive the promise, you'll carry a faith so strong that nothing can shake it. Delay doesn't destroy true faith. It proves it. And when faith is proven, you become unstoppable in the hands of God. One of the mysteries of God's timing is how slow the waiting feels, and yet how fast the breakthrough comes when the season finally shifts. You can walk through years of delay, frustration, and silence, but when God says the time is now, everything changes in an instant. What felt impossible for years can happen in a single moment. This is the nature of divine acceleration, when heaven redeems time and compresses years of waiting into one breakthrough encounter. We see this truth throughout Scripture. Joseph waited 13 years from the pit to the palace. For over a decade, it looked like his dreams would never come true. But in a single day, he went from being a prisoner to becoming second in command over Egypt. What delay stretched out for years, God redeemed in a moment of sudden acceleration. The years of suffering were not wasted, they were preparation for the position. And when God's time arrived, no man, no prison, no circumstance could hold him back. The same pattern is seen in the life of the Israelites. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, waiting to enter the promised land. Delay after delay tested their faith and patience. But when God finally commanded them to cross the Jordan, the waters parted in an instant. What looked like an endless season of wandering ended with a sudden, undeniable miracle. God's timing shifted, and what had been delayed for decades became a breakthrough moment that changed history. This is what makes waiting so challenging and yet so beautiful. We grow used to slow progress, we start to believe things will never change, and then suddenly God moves. In a single conversation, you meet the person who opens the door you've been praying for. In a single moment, a diagnosis is reversed and years of suffering are wiped away. In a single day, financial chains are broken and provision flows like a river. That's how God works, slow in the buildup, but fast in the breakthrough. When you understand this, you stop despising the delay. You realize the waiting was not wasted. It was building momentum for the sudden acceleration that's coming. Think of a bow and arrow. The longer the bow is pulled back, the farther the arrow will fly when it's released. In the same way, the longer the delay, the greater the acceleration when God releases you. The pull back is preparation for the launch. It's also important to remember that God redeems time. You may feel like you've lost years in the waiting, years of missed opportunities, wasted effort, or silent prayers. But when the breakthrough comes, God has a way of making up for the time you thought was lost. Joel 20:25 says, "I will restore the years the locusts have eaten." That means what you thought was wasted will be redeemed. The blessing will not only come quickly, it will also cover the years of lack, the years of pain, and the years of silence. This is why you must stay ready in the waiting. Breakthroughs don't come with a warning. They come suddenly, and when they do, you need to be prepared to step into them. Joseph could step into leadership because he learned management in Potiphar's house and perseverance in prison. David could step into kingship because he learned courage fighting lions and bears. The preparation in the delay equips you to carry the acceleration when it arrives. So don't grow weary in the waiting. The slowness of today doesn't mean the slowness of tomorrow. You may feel stuck, but at any moment God can shift the atmosphere. In one move of his hand, he can redeem the years, restore the joy, and release the blessing. Your story is not defined by the delay. It is defined by the God who accelerates beyond the delay. When God's time comes, it doesn't take years to fix what you've lost. It doesn't take decades to fulfill what he promised. It only takes a moment in his presence, a single divine appointment, a sudden opening of the right door. That's the power of his acceleration. Years of waiting can collapse into a single breakthrough moment. And when that moment arrives, you'll know that every day of the delay was worth it, because the glory of the acceleration far outweighs the pain of the waiting. When you look back over your life, you'll see that every delay had purpose. What looked like closed doors, unanswered prayers, and endless waiting was never wasted time. It was preparation. Delays are not denials. They are God's way of shaping you for something greater. In the waiting, your character is refined, your faith is tested, and your vision is sharpened. Even when nothing seems to be moving, heaven is arranging the right people, the right timing, and the right opportunities. And when the blessing finally comes, it will be bigger than anything you asked for. It will not just meet your need, it will overflow into the lives of others. The delay was the furnace that turned fragile faith into proven trust, the pullback that set you up for a powerful launch. And when God decides it is time, He can redeem years of waiting in a single moment of sudden acceleration. So don't despise the delay and don't lose hope in the silence. What you thought was holding you back is actually positioning you for a greater breakthrough. Your delay is not a punishment, it is a setup. And when the setup is complete, you will step into blessings, opportunities, and victories that you could never have imagined. The God who began the work is faithful to finish it. Stay the course. Trust His timing. And when the breakthrough comes, you will testify that the delay was not wasted. It was the very tool God used to prepare you for a blessing so great, it could only have been designed in heaven.